Are you tired of the same boring sports talk shows? Has your hunger for SEC sports yet to be filled? Well, worry no longer. You have arrived in the waiting room with Dr. SEC, where the sports talk is unbiased, refreshing, and impossible to duplicate.
Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, we're really excited to have you on. We know you're really busy, and I just want to, right off the bat, ask you, I know you're in the middle of rehab. How's rehab going?
Excellent. I'm actually down here in Pensacola at API, and just really getting after it between the training, the nutrition, excellent rehab. We have, Dr. James Andrews down here and get to work with him and see him, and, things are great. They're saying I'm way ahead of schedule right now, and it's looking very promising to, I'll be back for pro day out there throwing the ball around and having some fun.
That's awesome, man. I've obviously, as long as your career has been at Georgia, I've wrote quite a few articles, and one of the first articles I ever wrote about you was about your recovery from, I believe it was a broken foot, right, your senior year?
Broken ankle senior year.
Broken ankle, that's right. And came back and still led them to a state championship in the playoffs. It must be God's blessed you with a pretty good body, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, I've been, I'm a pretty quick healer, but you just got to take care of yourself with, eating right, taking the right supplements, getting the right amount of sleep, and obviously, just making sure you're, I'm pretty much rehabbing 24/7. Any chance I get, I'm doing whatever I need to do to get my knee in the best shape possible. So it's been a grind. It keeps me busy, which is good. I don't like, idle time. So it's been fun.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your career. We've told our listeners coming in, we're doing an article in SEC Sports Insider magazine this month with covering your career. And I want to ask you, now that your Georgia career is over, names like Peyton Manning, Tim Tebow, Eli Manning, Chris Leak, all sit underneath your career statistically. Is that something you could have imagined in your wildest dreams when you signed at Georgia?
No, not at all. And it's something that's, kind of still hard to believe now. I guess, maybe, 10, 20 years from now, I'll look back and think about my career, but I think it's a little too close now to really think about. But it was an awesome time. I really enjoyed my time at the University of Georgia. I really, I feel like I developed as a man, as a football player, and, ready to take on the next challenge.
Absolutely. Now, it seems like you've been at Georgia for 10 years now. You usually don't see somebody start at the quarterback position that long in the SEC. And, one of the things, you've been that steadfast, that consistent thing there for Georgia, but your career has been a career where the parts around you have always been changing. From your first game, you're supposed to have A.J. Green to throw through, and he had missed the first 4 games, the multiple running back suspensions, the unbelievable amount of injuries this season. How were you able to overcome the constant lineup changes and still find success?
A lot to do with just the atmosphere that I think we've created at the University of Georgia. An atmosphere where guys, no matter if you're a starter or you're a 4th, 5th string, running back, receiver, that, come springtime, come summertime, come camp time, you're out there grinding, working away. Even if I'm not, throwing to the, freshman receivers, Hudson's throwing to them and making sure they're run their routes right and getting prepared just in case something might happen. And just like this year, we had a lot of guys injured, a lot of receivers, a spot that we thought we were pretty solid at, and all of a sudden, you lose 3-4 guys. And then you're having to play those freshmen. And like I said, we did a great job, and we've done a great job over the past 3-4 years making sure everyone works their tail off, regardless if you think you're going to get redshirted or not get redshirted, because it's a very physical game, and you never know what's going to happen when it comes to injuries, when it comes to suspensions and other things like that.
Coming into the season, the one thing I talked about so often was the one thing Georgia could really, you kept saying the first week and the second week, the one place they can really take some hits in the depth chart is receiver and running back, but it just kept coming and coming and coming. As a leader, that must have been very difficult to keep those guys' heads in it and keep their eyes on the prize.
Oh, yeah, it was tough. Like I said, we really had to, midway through the year, just really, I think it was after the Tennessee game when we lost, I think it was 2 or 3 receivers in that game, lost Keith Marshall, Powell was already out. Really just had that week in practice to get after it, make sure guys are getting extra reps that are, get into the playbook a little bit more than they usually do. And, it was a challenge, but like I said, our guys responded extremely well, and they came out there and worked, Monday through Friday in preparation for the game.
Absolutely. Now, with all the things you've accomplished in your career, I mean, you look at all the statistical records you hold, you look at the two Eastern Division championships that you have. What is the one thing, if you had to kind of pinpoint, what is the one thing you're most proud of in your college career?
It's tough. It's just like I said, it's just been fun. I guess just the experiences. That's what I'm most proud of. The people I've met, the opportunities I've been able to have within the community. It's not all just about football. That's something we learned with Coach Rick. It's not, you don't go to Georgia just to play football. You go to Georgia to get an education. I got my degree in 3.5 years, started working on a master's. I was able to really get into the community and work with various organizations. One of my favorites, ESP, Extra Special People. Working with those kids is something that, is unbelievable. After the Auburn game this year, probably one of the most difficult losses I've ever been through. The next day, Sunday, I'm out hanging with those kids for an hour, 2 hours, and really just took my mind completely off the Auburn game the day before. And just being able to, like I said, to have those experiences, to get to meet certain people and be involved within the community has been unbelievable these past 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely. And one thing you hear from Georgia fans over and over again is of course, you go down obviously as one of the greatest athletes of all time, but you got to really believe, and of course, I wouldn't ask you to answer this, but I'll say it from an outsider. You've got to be one of the greatest ambassadors of the University of Georgia there's ever been. What you do in the community, what you do for other people. And there's a lot of stories out there people don't really know about that you don't go looking for exposure about. They just happen. And I know Georgia fans are really proud of the ambassador you've been for that university.
Well, I appreciate it. They definitely have blessed me back. So
now let me ask you: you signed at the University of Georgia, coming out of Florida, of course, and all the places you could have went anywhere you wanted to go. And you signed at University of Georgia. You got Mark Richt there. You got Mike Bobo there, and I believe those two are the very best at working with quarterbacks that you'll find anywhere. Let me ask you, how important was Mark Richt and Mike Bobo to your progression from star recruit to the greatest quarterback in Georgia history?
They were huge. Those guys are unbelievable. I mean, I'm definitely blessed to, go out there every day and practice every game and not only have one set of eyes on me, but, two. With both those guys, Coach Rick, going back from his FSU days, just a tremendous quarterback coach, tremendous offensive coordinator. And Coach Bobo has just done an unbelievable job since he's been at Georgia. If you look at his track record with Green, Shockley, Cox, Stafford, myself, I mean, he has just done an unbelievable job as a QB coach, as an offensive coordinator. So I've been, like I said, extremely lucky to have two pairs of eyes on me at all times to critique me, to work with me, to teach me the playbook, the fundamentals, the little things that, might get overlooked. I'm really, getting pushed pretty hard and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely been awesome. I can honestly say from day one to now, I'm a 10 times better quarterback, and they do a great job at developing that position.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I've been covering the SEC for years, and one of the hardest scenes that I've ever seen in my years of covering the SEC or sports in general was your final game. Watching the fans finally, just the amount of blacking out the stadium for you, for your career, appreciation to you, and watching you go down with that injury. And how was it? You knew that you injured that, and you were still playing on it, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it happened couple drives before. I was making a run, planted, I felt a pop, and I was able to still walk. There were certain movements I couldn't make, and I remember being on the sideline, and we had so many guys with ACL surgery. I was going up to all the guys, I'm like, hey, how did they, how did it feel when it happened? What exactly happened? And this and that, and they pretty much all matched up. But me being stubborn, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep going until I can't go anymore. So I pretty much told Hudson, our backup, I was like, hey, I don't know, how many more plays I'm going to make it, so just make sure you have your helmet near just in case. And, lasted, I think 2 more drives or whatever it was, and, got spun around one more time, and just the pain was too much, and, that was it. But, like I said, recovery's going great. I couldn't be in a better place right now, rehabbing and training and getting ready to go.
Well, Aaron, I know you've got to go, but I want to tell you this before you do go. Every year I make my predictions of those guys that are going to they're going to shock everybody by their careers. And you're my pick for this year, man.
Well, appreciate
The
it.
kind of intelligence, the kind of heart, and the kind of work ethic you got. It's been a pleasure to cover you the last 4 years, and you've had an amazing career. I look forward to following you in the NFL as well. And we just want to thank you once again for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me again.
Thanks, Aaron.